Hi, everybody. It is Lee Milteer with the Blonde Warrior here on Rumble. I am very excited today. We have a fantastic guest, and we're going to talk about something super important about success. And if you're interested in going into business, or if you're in business, how this information could help you. But before we start today, I want to remind each and every one of you that you can find me at milteer.com and that I have all my books there. Also, I have a free gift for you, and it's at 5typesofenergy.com. Five spelled like Five. And what these are five small videos, about 5 minutes each, about our life currency: mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial energy. So it would behoove you to go get those for free. And I don't mind telling you that people play these 5 types of energy videos in schools, in business organizations, in churches, because we were never educated on how important it is that you control your life currency versus other people controlling it. And since you all know I'm all about being sovereign and having your own authority, I think it's super important that you are very aware how you utilize your own life energy. So with that said, I have with us today the one and only Dan Olsen, and we're going to talk about his new book, and we're going to talk about how we can improve ourselves. So first, welcome, Dan.
Wow, it's an honor and privilege to be here, Lee. Thank you for having me. And I've always wanted to be part of what you're doing because I've followed you. I've watched those 5 videos that you've referred to about energy, and they're absolutely amazing. I need to go back and rewatch those again and again. They're that important. Thank you.
Well, my pleasure. I did those some time ago, and it's one of those things you'll shoot and then, don't really think about the consequences. But thousands of people have signed up for this, and I get the nicest letters. So let me tell everybody a little bit about Dan, and he's going to also tell you more about himself. His specialty has been helping over 1,000 small businesses and franchise owners to start from scratch in their own business, and he helps them get off the ground successfully. And now they do billions of dollars worth of business in sales per year collectively, and have created, when this is a very important point, tens of thousands of other jobs with other people working for them. And I think this is a very significant thing, Dan, because we are, as business owners, actually the backbone of the economy. We are the ones who are hiring people who just got out of school, who want to try something new and be different, and we're the providers. And I think it's very important that we remind everybody that even though our government does not support small businesses the way we would like it to, uh, as Dan Kennedy says, the usums, all of us entrepreneurs need to support ourselves. So first, tell us why that you wrote this book, and I recommend that people get this.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I one of the reasons why I wrote it is for 4 years I volunteered at an employment center. And so people would come in that employment center, and every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, I'd be there interviewing, and whoever came through that door, I would help them to be able to find a job or get some cash flow in their life. And what happened was, I was getting, people that had come in, doctors from Venezuela and engineers from Mexico and housewives that needed to get back into work and get back into the marketplace, or people that needed money now. And so I started thinking, well, jobs may take you a while to find a job. Why don't we get you a business started? And why don't we get you started doing something that can produce cash flow for you next week if you really jump on it, because you don't have time to wait. Plus, people coming from a different country or whatever, trying to make ends meet. So I ended up not doing more of the job interviews and resume placements and reviews and helping them go out. I did that, but I ended up helping them streamline and set up a small little 5-step business plan that where they could start their business, get some cash flow. They'd come in and I'd talk to me every week, and we'd help them figure out the next steps. And pretty soon we started getting all these business owners starting to create businesses. So I thought I better memorialize a few more of these things in a book so that we can just further educate people. So,
So when you probably know this about me because we've known each other a little while online primarily, but my father used to say to me, the last thing you ever want to be is average, and you're not wife material and you're not employee material because you've got this strong will and independent spirit. So he used to say to me, what kind of business are you going to open up? And my first business was at 12 years old. And it
wow.
was a tiny little business, but it really gave me a lot of knowledge about the power that we have with very little resources. If we just set our mind upon exactly what we want to do and how we want to be of service. So I know that I saw in your resume some of the fantastic companies that you work with, like Fantastic Sam's hair salons. There were 1,300 units worldwide. Massage Envy. You took them from four locations to 600 locations in 5 years. So let's just jump in. What would be some of the I think we're going to have here on this network that we are on right now. We're going to have established people. We're going to have people who are already working for other people, and then we're going to have those people who are looking for what can I do with my life. So, how do you tell people if they're actually suited to be, self-employed and own a business?
So when these people would come to me and interview them, and I would look at what their qualities are, and what I've divided that up into is one of the things I want to look at is I look at their values. You want to build business around the values, and so a lot of the time, so we would start there. I would start with, Lee, you and I have talked a lot about why to. Why do we do certain things? And that is critical to have those reasons why we do a certain thing. So, but there's something that I've dug into deeper with in some of these interviews is before the why to, we got to know the who we are and what we are. So we start talking about who are you? What type of person are you? What type of person do you want to become? So when we start talking about the values and what that person is about, then the why tos and the how tos seem to flow much easier. So we would dig in there first. So there's some people that tell me, "Oh, I could never sell." Well, do you recommend movies to your friends, or do you recommend restaurants to your friends, and you get passionate about some of that stuff? What are you passionate about? What do you value most in your life? Let's see if we can start there. And I like the idea of having passion behind a business, but that's not always possible. I mean, when we were doing hair salons, built that to 1,300 locations, we'd ask the people that were looking for a business, how many of you woke up this morning and said, "Hey, I want to go own a hair salon"? Practically none of them. And so what we had to do is interview them and draw out of them what the most important characteristics that are important to them, the values, and then surround the business around the characteristic of that business around them. In this case, with Fantastic Sam's, it was a semi-absentee owned business. They already had a job. They already were working. They were tired of the usual stock market investments. They were tired of just what the normal investments. And so they wanted to have something extra where they had a high success rate and they could keep their job and operate this and make, invest 50 grand and get 50 grand back, and also make 100% return on their cash and end up working at semi-absentee owned. So I don't know, that's this kind of the foundation that I've usually started with.
So this is a question I asked everybody, Dan, and that is, how important is someone's mindset towards the success of their goals?
Wow, it's critical. And when in my book we talk a little bit about the strategies and how important strategy is, and having the tactics and the step-by-step systems and the how-tos and all those things. So I always ask them the question, let's take three things. Let's take strategy, tactics, which are different, and vision. What is the most important thing, do you think? Most people get it and they will say vision. And in my mind, it's the vision. It is that mindset. It is getting that the understanding of what you're capable of and who you are, and figuring out why you want to do it. And then the strategies seem to build upon that. So mindset Without that, it's practically impossible.
So I think both of us will agree that in the school system today, um, mindset is really not taught at all in whatever mind, and a lot of the mindset that they get by osmosis is actually be the victim, spend all your energy, on these crusades that, aren't going to ever make them any money and things like that. So, a lot of people haven't gotten mindset information. You might find this amusing. When I was in high school, I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur because look, when they gave me the list of here's what all the things girls can do, I'm like, I can't do any of those. I don't want to do any of those things. And so in all classes, I became such a pain to the teachers because I actually would say, well, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. So how can I make money from this information? How can I, and I actually had learned words like monetize and money and, leverage and all those kind of things. And they actually had a meeting in the school about what are we going to do with this little Lee Milteer troublemaker girl? Because we have no clue. So they ended up putting me in the library, which is, another long
Oh,
story, but that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because guess what I read in the library? Think and Grow Rich, The Magic
whoa,
of Believing, and Psycho-Cybernetics. This is a 16-year-old. So
wow.
when people say, what got me started, it was because I was such a rebel in school of this information you're teaching me is not a foundation for any kind of real success unless I go become part of the masses. And I don't have the personality to be part of the masses. So, thank you for in your book. You also wrote a chapter called How to Turn Your Mindset into One of the Most Powerful Dominant Thinking and Give Your Life More Purpose and Meaning. So, could you give us a hint what is in chapter 5? How do you do that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, thank you for that. And I will say this too. Like you, I was 9 and I started my own business. It wasn't a lemonade stand. I grew up in a little city down by Las Vegas. And so we were out in the desert. Back then you could get the tortoises. Now they're protected. So I had those in my backyard. They were my pets, and I had frogs, and I had lizards, and I had snakes and other things like that that I caught. And I had a pet shop. And so kids would come over and buy that from me. So I was entrepreneurial all the way. And my dad, he was the principal of the school there. So he was always teaching me, get educated, go get your degree and all that kind of stuff. But I was pure entrepreneur and even through high school. So like you, I was doing that. But I'm grateful for my dad because he helped me. Not only was he as a principal, but he was entrepreneurial, and he helped me form those proper mindsets. And one of the things that he taught me that is probably, I think, that's the first thing in the book when we look at the mindset is getting your physiology right. And so he taught me to walk with a brisk walk with your head up. Don't be looking down at the ground. Walk like you're on a mission. Walk like you have something to accomplish. That physiology of your body transforms then into your mind so that you can put a smile on your face and feel confident and move forward. And he's the guy, and that's a whole nother story, but he's the guy that pulled me out of my shyness, pulled me out of my I didn't have a lot of confidence. I didn't have a lot of, the people were telling me, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you're no good. You just can't do that. He's the one that helped me pull myself out of that and have the confidence to be able to walk with my held head high, no matter what happens in life. You hold your head high. Start with that, and then it transforms the rest of your physiology, your body, so you can start thinking correctly. And I think that's the point that I started first in the book.
I am so thrilled that you have said this because I think I've interviewed probably, I don't know, 40 people in the last few months. Not one person has brought this up. So I'm writing notes as I talk to you, but absolutely true. And both of us are stage people. And I'm not ill very often in my life, but if I'm not feeling very good and you still have to go, it doesn't make any
Mhm.
difference how you feel.
Yeah.
Just getting my body into the stance of my stage confidence actually floods me with endorphins and gives me so much energy and confidence. When I walk on that stage, no matter how I feel, I forget how I feel because my body is used to the physiology of I'm in charge, I own this room, I'm happy to be here. And I often joke to people, I said, you know, my feet could hurt from high heels, or, I could be starving, or I could have a headache, but none of it happens when I'm on stage because I'm using this body language that my body knows means I'm in the top position. So I'm so grateful you brought that up. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it starts there. We can change our mindset. We can change what we're thinking just by changing the position of our body. We can sit here hunched over like this, or we can sit up straight and with confidence, and all of a sudden the confidence just flows through your body. At least it does for me anyway, when you change your positioning of the way your body is. And some people I know are maybe not as healthy as they can be. And so maybe their bodies are not physically able to do certain things, but at least if you can think it in your mind, I'm going to straighten my body out, or I'm going to do it to my best of my ability, it still can manifest itself within your mind, even if you're not in the best of physical shape.
And another thing that I've learned along the way about, body language is that if you walk into a room or a place with great authority, nobody questions you as long as you're dressed appropriately, for the place. I mean, you could just walk in and then, people think you're in charge. And it used to kind of annoy me that when I would go shopping in high-end places, and I would have like my bag on my shoulder. People thought I was in charge, that I knew something about the store. And it happened to me all the time at the airport. Um, and by the way, if you wear a navy blue suit, I did look like a flight attendant occasionally. But when people would ask me directions, I would say, well, I'm a pilot. I have no idea where that is. Joking with them. But,
Yeah.
I think the way that we choose to hold our body says a lot about I am willing, to really accept my authority where I am. So please, everybody, pay great attention to this because when you change your body, you actually really do change the way that the brain works. And we train our brain to work in certain ways.
Well, Lee, there's that statistic. It just reminded me of that. Of when a sale is made, there was three major things. It was the message that was communicated. It was the way it was communicated with enthusiasm or not, but also the way you held your body was number one. I think that was a study out of UCLA or someplace like that years and years ago. And it was like the number one thing, 55%, I think, of people that bought was the way that you held your body in a position. It wasn't the actual message unnecessarily, but when you add the way it was communicated with some enthusiasm and passion, things like that was another big piece, like 38%, if I remember correctly. But the actual message was just a small percentage. It was the way you held your body. So it may be that important whenever we're selling something or trying to uh, advise somebody on a path to go. It's about the way we hold ourselves with that confidence.
And I don't remember the statistics exactly, but there's something also about communications that they talk about. You only get 1 or 2% in communications, but 7% is actually just the body language. And
Yeah.
as I remember recalling reading this, it also warned people about text messages and emails because there's no tonality, there's no body language to back it up. They can appear to be harsher than you're intending. So that's always a good thing to remember. Another thing in your book that I'd like for us to talk about is just a few reasons why businesses succeed or fail. And for all the people who are already in business, I think this would be, a very beneficial piece of information.
Yeah, so I've put it into 12 different things that we've identified. And these come from working with businesses to start them up and moving them forward and seeing the success. And we've had a very high success rate because if you look at the beginning of the book, it talks about less than a 20% chance of success. But if you can put these 12 things into place, your chances of success go up way up. And that's why franchises have that almost 90% success rate because you follow these things. But Dun and Bradstreet also did something on this, and it was like there was four, and those four things are actually in as part of those 12. We've expanded them, but one of the things was number one, lack of capital. Number two, not knowing, the good, not having marketing behind you. Number three was just having an interest in the business, and number four was making dumb mistakes. And so, out of those four things, um, when you look at why a franchise is so successful, it has three out of the four. If they won't let you in unless you have capital, number one, they will not let you make dumb mistakes, or at least if you do make a mistake, they'll help you correct it. They'll also help you support it. So the capital, the mistakes, and then the marketing and the systems that are already in place. So it's the third thing is just you. And that comes down here to the mindset. So if you can get your mindset right and then follow those systems that are in place, the chances for your success in pretty most any business that you have go way up. And so that's why we put the 12 in there, because we've added a few to what Dun and Bradstreet said just through our experiences of seeing businesses fail or succeed. And there's been, like you said, well over 1,000 of them, and a lot more above and beyond that didn't succeed. So
So for a period of time, I studied franchises because I was being hired by franchises to come speak. And I was like, a lot of people who have had, so I live in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So there's a lot of military retired people who are still, actually young, and now they have a little nest egg and they don't have any place to go, and they're looking for, a way to use their skills and abilities and time. And I really was impressed with the education that most well-known, successful franchises give them, that if you just follow their directions and their procedures, and you've got a good franchise that's alignment with their personality and the area, I think you will do really well. I can see sometimes franchises, and I won't mention any names, but I live at the beach.
yeah.
And recently there's a franchise going up that I'm concerned for, because it's not matched to the area. It's not matched to the financial. It's not matched to the people. I don't know. I don't know them, but I'm watching it go up and I'm thinking this would be a runaway hit at the boardwalk where all the tourists are. We're in a, residential beach area. It's, so, the boardwalk tourist, would have, 12 months a year of, people always buzzing around our area. The restaurants close down in the winter. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's a few family things. So, I think it's always really good when there's honest people helping with the franchise owner. It's like, yes, and this is the kind of locations you should be in. And I'm sure they do provide that, right?
Oh, absolutely. So, when you look at franchising as a whole, you can drive down, and you're alluding exactly right. It has a lot to do with the locations, and they do have uh, successful franchise companies will have that already mapped out. So they'll have a real estate professionals team of professionals to help you find the right locations, look at the demographics, the psychographics, the sociographics, you name it, traffic patterns, even foot patterns with infrared now. I mean, it just gets so amazing to be able to find that right location and the right audience that's going to help that franchise thrive. And so that's one of the reasons why people call franchising an industry. It's not an industry, it's a marketing system. And because when you look around, there's over 7,000 different types of franchises just in the United States alone. And it does $2.3 trillion per year in sales. And you can drive down any street in the United States and see that 10.5% of those retail locations are franchised, but yet they do over 40% of the sales volume. So they're capturing more of the market share, which means more profits, and that allows the franchisee to pay a royalty because of all that. And it's just a good system for most people. Some people that are more entrepreneurial, maybe like you or me or whatever. I don't want someone telling me how to run my business, and I want to be able to do it on my own, which you've done successfully. I've done successfully. I've owned franchises too, but and I still own franchises, but it's still if you're a real true entrepreneur, you may want to look more at building your own business without that background. And those are some of the things we look at people and we understand. For fact, if I may, I just tell you a quick example. I was in Richmond, Virginia. Actually, when you start talking about Virginia, what a beautiful place you live in. And so this is one of the things you want to look at when you're looking to start a business is how entrepreneurial are you or not? And this guy, I went in and we started talking. We were in a hotel lobby. We're just talking. I was showing him how this franchise could work and how it worked, this and that. And he'd come back and say, "Oh, well, I would do it like this, and I would change this and do this and that." Then I'd show him something else. Here's part of the system. Here's how it works. And he said, "Oh, you know what? That's cool, but I'd do it this way." And then by the third time, I just closed my book. I had a laptop back then, but I had a book. I just closed my book and I said, "You know what? You probably won't be a good franchisee because you're more entrepreneurial. You've got just that entrepreneurial spirit. You want to do it the way you want it. You want to be the one creating your wheel rather than having the wheel created for you so that you can just do your own thing." But most of the population fit in that middle area where they need that help and they need that support. And that's why so many people gravitate toward franchises versus starting their own and then probably failing. I know I covered a lot of different things, aspects on that, but anyway.
I know, no, I think that is 1,000,000% true. I definitely have that kind of personality of, um, you know, well, this is the way we do it. And my brain automatically goes, okay, well, I would do that a different way. And that's actually made me a really good consultant going into
Mm-hmm.
different companies. Now, and when I go into companies, it's more about analyzing the staff and how to monetize more from the staff, getting more, creative ideas and then buying in and things like that. I'm not working with their spreadsheets and stuff like that because that's definitely not my personality. But I think it's very important, and you said something when we first started about people want to be in business, but they don't want to be salespeople. And the other thing is that they actually many times have never been a true leader. And if you really want to be in business, you really have to. And by the way, I don't actually like to talk to people about sales. I like to talk to people about we're just educating other people when we give them information.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna just go into a sales presentation. We're actually going to ask people a lot of questions about, what their needs are and things like that, and then determine if my service or product is aligned and could benefit your needs, and then educate them how that would be. It's such a softer approach. It's such an easier approach. Nobody ever, feels repelled when you're just because your body language is completely different when you're educating versus, people who are in there hard selling, I just built a house a number of years ago. And so we had to talk to lots of, vendors and a lot of people. And these guys would come in and they're like, just so intense and they're pushing themselves so hard. And I'm like backing up, like mirroring, slow down, dude, relax. So, talk about leadership and the things that people should start to ponder. Do they really want to be a leader? Because that really does take a lot of skills and ability and intuition and things like that.
Yeah, it does. And the experience in business that I've had is being a leader is especially in starting these businesses is you have to be able to do everything that you require of employees to do. In fact, we used to have franchisees. I remember a franchise, Fantastic Sam's franchisee. This guy was a heavy duty dude. I mean, he had millions of dollars net worth and he had a lot of money. But he opened a Fantastic Sam's hair salon and saw that as an investment and ended up owning several of them. But what he would do is he would go in there because you're hiring stylists, and sometimes they're very creative and they're not necessarily business people. And so they've got their challenges and you have to get through that. But to be a good leader, he would go in first thing at the employee meetings, he would go in and clean the toilets himself in the back. And so he would lead and show how to do that and how he expected that to be done. And then the other thing is one of the successes and failures I've seen even in the hair salons and other businesses that we've set up is you could see um, you could see the leader of the evidence of that leader in that salon and how successful it was by going back and looking at the bullet board. Now, back then it was bulletin boards, and nowadays it's we're more digital, but still digital plays a big piece of this. But there's still bulletin boards if you go back and look at some of those locations, and if you look at a food locations, they still have notices and things on the back bulletin board. But you could go back and look at the bulletin board and say, you guys screwed up last night. We didn't make this, and no one turned this off, and this didn't happen. Versus the owner that was going in and saying, oh, you did a great job yesterday. We almost made our goal. We're going to make our goal this week. And if we do, here's what's going to happen. And we're going to go get pizza together. We're going to go do this or whatever. The person that put just those simple little things on the bulletin boards and that positive direction rather than the negative direction as a leader drew out the best in those people, and those were almost always the best performing financially businesses.
Yes, because I think statistically, there's only born leaders, about 5%, but it doesn't, you don't have to be born. You can definitely learn the skill, but the real skill is to learn to influence, not push and force. I can't imagine someone starting off with cleaning the toilet.
Yeah, I can't either. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go that far either. But
Well,
that's what this guy did. But I like the positivity on in the back room, in the break room. That's where
absolutely.
it starts. The positivity in the back room then goes forward into the rest of the location.
For all those weak people, they were out in 30 seconds. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, that should have been like one of the last things or in the middle or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I've spoken a lot to hair salon people and my own salon, and for all you business owners, a little tip. I've gone to this hair salon, I'm going to say 15 years, and the owner put in a relative to become the sort of manager of the salon. But it was the worst placement because the person he put in, he was very close to, and I'm pretty sure he was trying to help this guy. He had been sort of an engineer. In general, engineers are not all that people savvy. I'm saying there could be exceptions, but for the most part, this guy ran the salon as if it were a construction site where he just browbeat everybody. And he actually kind of browbeat the customers. And I remember writing to the salon and saying to the owner, because I knew him, I said, look, I've been coming here 15 years, and I don't know if your choice of your office person, who's managing the salon is the best choice, because people are actually talking about what an unpleasant experience it is now to come to your salon. And remember, the core reason we're going to the salon, not only to have work done, and obviously I go to the salon, but also it's supposed to be like a treat for ourselves, a relaxation. We're having these things done. At least this is how most women would like to look at this. And then when you've got someone barking at you that don't do this and don't do that, needless to say, I stopped going to the salon. And I had personally recommended over the 15 years, because people noticed my hair, I'm going to say conservatively, Dan, 100 people. This would be
Wow.
conservative. And I was a money source to the salon.
Yeah.
And I had to like retract that. If people say, "Are you still going there?" I'm like, "No, I'm not going there anymore. I'm going here now." So,
Yeah.
for whatever worth we have to be really careful when we abdicate some of those influence jobs to other people. And I think a problem with some people is they just want to have an investment somewhere and they want someone else to run it. But if you're not really careful, that someone else can run it right into the ground
Hmm.
without
Yeah.
even knowing they're doing it.
Absolutely. And so that's why when we look at different businesses and you look at someone, oh, I want an absentee owned business. I don't want to be paying attention. Well, you know what? Especially when you're starting it out, then you're going to have absentee profits because you need to be willing to spend some time in it. And we make sure that, anybody that we start in a business, that they're going to spend at least some time and make sure that they have that time available to do that. Because, we heard here of a semi-absentee owned business where you're spending some limited time in there, a few hours a week, overseeing the manager and then having to replace that manager. And that's the nice thing about a franchise, because then you usually have some support backup to help hire and build people in there so that you're not left hanging. Um, so so you do have that additional support, but it's just you got to spend some time, and especially I hear what Dan Kennedy does. One of the things that you don't delegate is the marketing side of things. Even though the
Right.
franchise has already got it set up for you, you're still the one placing the ads according to their direction, still fine tuning it and looking at your numbers daily, sometimes hourly, just to make sure things are flowing properly, especially in the beginning. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do that. And especially when you're running a hair salon or a massage clinic or even sometimes even a food place, you're I've never cut hair. I've never given a massage. And so I have no idea how to perform that, but I sure know how to take care of my marketing, and I know how to take care of hopefully the leadership side and helping the people feel comfortable and wanted there at the location so we don't have a high turnover. So there's things like that you can do, but you do need to spend some time in a business typically to get it up and running.
Absolutely. And I brought that story up just because, and the other thing for me personally is I have to love what I'm doing. And I have to actually feel like I am creating a service or I am helping people in some way. That's just how I'm configured. And you are exactly the same way. I've seen some of your presentations um, on video and things. And Dan, you do such a magnificent job. You have such a great presence on stage, and you're easygoing, and you're just a charmer, influencer. So tell everybody how they can find you and how they can get a copy of your fantastic book.
Well, thank you. The way that we're doing this now is we're actually helping people educate, and we have a new financial and business academy called oneperfectbusiness.com. So it's the number one perfectbusiness.com, and there's a free training on there, and then you get that book for free with that once you're through with the training. So we get that free along with some other gifts and things we want to hand to you. But it's oneperfectbusiness.com. That's our new effort in building our financial academy with affiliates who are excited about building business. And we've done tremendous. This has only been up and running the last few months. It's been something I've been working on for 12 years, actually, that just has come into fruition. And we've already seen hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales already with people bringing the businesses to us, and we help close them. One last thing about sales is when people come to us and are looking for a franchise, you're selling a franchise, but really you're selling a livelihood. You're selling a whole new thing. So they have to qualify for that. And all we ever do is do the assumptive close. You don't have to know 300 ways to close a sale. You just take them through the process. You advise them if it's not the right thing, you tell them it's probably not the right thing for you. And that's what we're doing now with this academy, because I have 92,000 people in my database that have come and looked for a business, to want to start a business. But I've only been able to help maybe the top 3 or 4% of them, because most of them do not have the money. And that's why we started this business and financial academy through One Perfect Business, because now we can help anybody anywhere in the world. And we start them out with credits so that they can own their own business down the road. We actually help finance them if they need it. We actually help educate them no matter what level you are in investment or anywhere in the world. That's what we built now. So we're excited about that.
And you should be. And by the way, if any of you watch Shark Tank, Kevin Harrington actually wrote the foreword, and that's kind of impressive because that's a nice endorsement. So congratulations on that. All right, so
Thank
everybody,
you.
I hope that you've enjoyed our small presentation today, our interview with Dan. And Dan, thank you so much. And so this is Lee Milteer. We're going to call it a wrap. But don't forget, everybody, you can find me at milteer.com, Milteer. And don't forget to go get your free video series, The Five, FIVE, types of energy.com. I promise you it will be a worthwhile effort. All right, I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.